Since the word is not the thing, can we truly be enlightened through words? Can symbols into the damage done by symbols? Or are we being seduced by the illusions of enlightenment? Since the word is not the thing, can we truly be enlightened through words? Can symbols into the damage done by symbols? Or are we being seduced by the illusion of enlightenment? I wonder if most of us realize that the word is never the thing. My wife is never the woman or my husband. The word, if you go into this problem of word, do you want to go into all that? If we realize the word is not the actual thing, the description is not the actuality, the symbol is never the fact, the ideal is never what is. And if you observe, if you are aware, our brain is caught in words, network of words. I am a Catholic, I'm a Protestant, I'm an American. You follow? They're all symbols. They're all words, pictures. And the brain is caught in that. That is, thinking is a word. Without a word, is there a thinking? I don't want to go into all this. Very interesting to find out all these things, because then your mind becomes extraordinarily alert. Naturally, to be free of the word, but you choose the word accurately. So the word is not the thing, and the symbol is never the actual. Fear, the word fear, is not the reaction, right? But the word fear shapes our action. Not the feeling of fear, but the word, either the word creates the fear, or the word shapes the fear, and is there. Is it possible to look at that reaction without the word? This is quite simple. Can we truly be enlightened through words? Good God. I wonder why we use the word enlightenment. Obviously, we'll go into the word enlightenment. It's very interesting to go into what we mean by enlightenment, which all the gurus talk about. And it is a word that's, to some people, that's a sacred word, to be enlightened. Not through books, not through knowledge, not through time, You understand? It isn't a thing that you gradually work up to. By practice, by meditation, by doing all kinds of tricks. So, obviously, the word love is not love. And similarly, what is enlightenment? Who is enlightened? Enlightened of what? Enlightened about what? You follow? Enlightened, I don't know, funny about it. Surely a mind that is enlightened is free from all conditioning. A Hindu, with his superstitions, with his all the business of his religious conditioning, as well as psychological and environmental conditioning, has made him call himself a Hindu. How can such a mind, which has been so conditioned, ever be free? Is enlightenment complete freedom from conditioning? Can a Catholic, I hope there's nobody, I'm not treading on anybody's toes, can a Catholic, with all his superstition, with his saviors, with his rituals and the hierarchical authority and so on, can he ever be enlightened? With his conditioning, baptism, the whole intellectual, cunning business that holds the people to a pattern. You answer it yourself. Can a human being enlighten when he's frightened? When he's seeking power, position, accumulating money in the name of enlightenment, which is what some of the gurus are doing, vast sums of money. And they talk about enlightenment. So the word is not the thing. And the question asks, have the symbols done damage to the human psyche? Obviously. If I am a Hindu, personally I am not. If I am a Hindu, I was born in India, but that's no meaning. If I am a Hindu, they've got innumerable symbols, like the Christian world. They're goddesses, they're gods, tribal gods and smaller gods and higher gods. I've been conditioned in that. And how can those conditioning, those symbols, have damaged the clarity of a mind, of the psyche? Right? That's so obvious. Symbols obviously have done damage, because that prevents a human being going directly to the fact, not worship the symbols. I'm afraid the question also, are we being seduced by the illusion of enlightenment, obviously. That sounds lovely. But enlightenment is not of time. It's not a process. It's not something you gradually come to. To be free from all condition, which also implies to be a light to oneself completely. And not depend on any person, any idea, any teacher, or light to oneself, so wholly. From that light there is action. We have to be very clear how the nature of observation. Who is the observer? Are we together in this? Who is the observer? You look at those trees, a field full of cows or sheep. You see the horizon lit up by morning sun. How do you observe all that? If you ever do. When you look at a tree or a house, your very perception, looking, is blocked by the word you use, right? You understand? I can look at a Frenchman and say, oh, he's a Frenchman. That means I have all my prejudices, all my knowledge of the French comes in between me and observing a man who calls himself French, right? So can I look at him without all the prejudices, antagonism? Can you? So the observer is the past, right? Are you following this? So the observer is full of his past knowledge. Whether that knowledge is absurd, silly, or actual, that knowledge is blocking my observation, right? Are we following this? Now, to observe my relationship with my wife or husband, I must observe without any previous accumulated incidents, knowledge, all that. Is that possible? You understand my question? Otherwise, I never see my wife for the first time. You understand? I'm always looking at her with all the memories of 1,000 days. Now, is that a fact that I'm looking at another from the past knowledge, and therefore it is a living thing can never be observed with with a limited knowledge, and knowledge is always limited. You understand? A living thing must be observed freely, without all the accumulated experiences, knowledge. So is it possible for me to look at my wife or the husband or the girlfriend, or whatever you like, without the previous remembrances. Have you ever tried? Have you ever tried to look at a tree without the word tree? Look at a flower without the label. So that you are actually observing what actually is, in which there is no subjective reactions. You're following all this? Are you?
Yeah.
Or is all this Greek? Or Chinese, better still? You see, our brain is a network of words. Network of remembrances. It's never free to look. Because it has been conditioned through identification. To us, identity is very important. I am Hindu. Whatever that silly word may be, but that gives me a sense of assurance, a sense of security. I have roots in there. Like you, the British, like you, the French, German, you know the rest of the world. And can we look, observe, without any identity? You understand? Are you doing it now? Or are you going to try and do it when you go home? If when you are listening to this and doing it now, perhaps you are sitting next to your wife or husband. If you do it now, the very action of perception is to destroy that division. Right? If you do it now, which means action is not of time. Now follow this. Am I talking this? Look, sir, I've heard this. I paid attention to what I've heard. And I'm sitting next to my wife. I'm a serious person. And I hope she is too. And I see that I am not looking at her freely, without any past incidents and all the rest of it. And to me it's important to have a relationship with her or with him in which there is no conflict. Because if I can live that way, I have peace in my heart and my brain. So the very moment I hear this, the actual perception that I am in conflict and I'm looking at her or him with all the accumulated memories, which are all dead anyhow. And so I'm looking at her. Action is the moment of perception of the fact and not allowing time to interfere with action. You understand what I mean? I wonder if am I conveying something? So can I look at her or him without any past remembrances? Will you do it now? See what it entails. Do it and you find out how tremendously we are bound to the past. Our life is the past. That is, past memories. And apparently they have such strong hold on our brain. And we say that's impossible to look without the knowledge of yesterday. And so we give up and pursue the old way, quarreling, nagging, fighting, miserable, unhappy. You know the whole business of it. Whereas if one actually sees the fact that conflict must exist between two human beings and therefore with the rest of humanity, as long as there is this concept of individual and with his own particular memories and seeing that is to act, not postpone action. When you postpone action, time is involved, right? And during that postponement, other things take place. Other complexities arise. I wonder if you're following all this. So, action is perception and instant action. So that your brain is not cluttered with problems. Is it, sir, that we are incapable of looking at what is? We rather run away from what is into what should be, hoping somehow by some miracle, by some effort of will, change what is into what should be. Take that simple fact, begin with that. That is, I am angry and I should not be angry. If I knew what to do with anger, how to deal with anger, and go beyond it, there is no need for what should be, which is don't be angry. You understand my question? If you can tell me what to do with what is, then I won't escape from what should be. Because I don't know what to do with what is, I hope by inventing an ideal, I can somehow, through the ideal, change what is. This is what is happening. No? Will you start from there?
If we remain with what is...
What's that?
If we remain with what is there anything to do at all?
I'm coming to that. So let's look into it first. because I am incapable, I don't know what to do, my brain hasn't been so conditioned that I'm always living in the future. What should be? But I'm essentially living in the past. But I hope by living in the future, I can alter the present. Right? Now, if you were to tell me what am I to do with what is, then the future doesn't matter to me. Right? I wonder if you understand this. Huh? It's not a question of accepting what is, but remaining with what is. Right?
You see, there's a lot more implied than you're actually bringing out in this.
Yeah,
I'm denied. The me is denied when you stay with that.
I don't want to go into the me yet. It's very complex. I just begin with the simple, which is, I am greedy. That's a fact. The abstraction of the fact is non-greedy. So it means I have moved away from what is. And by moving away, I hope to understand from what is. Now, I can only understand something if I can look at what is and not run away from it. Right? Not try to change it into something else. So, can I, with your help, can I remain, look, observe, see what is? Nothing else. You understand my question? You have understood my question? Please teach me.
Yeah, the problem there, you see, is we don't want what is.
And then escape. Then
that's what we're all doing.
Do it. But know that you are escaping.
But that doesn't change it.
And know that you are escaping. Therefore, you haven't solved a thing.
Quite right.
But be aware that you are escaping, that you are running away, avoiding.
So the point is, one sees words coming in as soon as one tries to see what is. One doesn't do that. I see I'm jealous, at least I do not see it yet, but the feeling is there, then the word jealousy comes.
We are good, sir.
That precise moment.
Sir. Could you ask somebody, that gentleman, to play the flute a little bit further away? There's plenty of space. So please help me to understand how to deal with what is. Then my problem is solved, you understand? Then I won't fight duality. There won't be duality. So please teach me, help me to understand, and go beyond it, not remain in it. Go beyond what is.
So, the conflict between what is and what should be is a part of what is.
No, sir, please, sir, for the love. Of course, in a sense it is, but please. Oh, I cannot. Yes, sir.
You want to learn about something. That is your greed. And to learn about anything, you have to be attentive.
That's what I'm coming to. Slowly, sir, slowly. Piano. Please help me to understand what is. How am I to look at what is? Right? Right? If I know how to look at it, then I could begin to unravel it. And then it's finished. Right? Now, please help me to learn the art of observation of what is.
Look at it without thought.
Oh my, how am I to look at it without thought? I don't know.
Be aware.
See, you are not doing it. Do it, please, then you won't answer so quickly. Beg pardon? I have said, what is the art of looking? Please, this is, if you give 5 minutes, 2 minutes attention to this marvelous thing, you will learn something. What is the art of looking? No, sir, it's not acceptance, just to look.
What's your thoughts?
Huh?
What's your thoughts?
Oh no, but I'm asking you, I give up. I better have a conversation with myself. I want to look at what is. What is there must be a great deal of things involved in it, right? Because we have looked. I know I'm greedy, but it doesn't do anything. Even greed is a feeling. And I've looked at that feeling, named greed. The word is not the thing. But we may be mistaken the word for the thing. No, this is not intellectual, it's very simple. I may be caught in words, but not with fact. The fact is I'm greedy. The word is very complex, that's why you should go into this very deeply. The word may incite that feeling. Can the mind be free of the word and look? You follow what I'm saying? So I must first learn whether the word has become important to me in my life. Am I a slave to words? Knowing that the word is not the thing. So, word becomes important when the fact is not real, actual to us. I would rather look at a picture of a mountain than go and look at a mountain. Right? To look at a mountain, I have to go great distance, climb, look, observe, feel. But by looking at a picture of a mountain, it's a picture. It's a symbol, it's not reality. So, are we caught in words? If you are caught in words, then you are moving away from the fact. So, does the word create the feeling of greed? Or is there a greed without the word? This requires, you understand, examination requires tremendous discipline. Not suppression, the very inquiry and the pursuit in that inquiry has its own discipline. So I have to find out very carefully whether the word has created the feeling or the feeling exists without the word. The word is greed. I have named it. I have named it because I have had that feeling before. So, I am registering the present feeling by a past incident of the same kind. So, the present has been absorbed into the past. Are you interested in all this? So, I realize what I'm doing. I'm aware of what is happening. What is happening is that the word has become extraordinarily important to me. So then, is there a freedom from the word? Communist, socialist, etc., etc. Greed, envy, national, so on. Is there a freedom from the word? The word is the past, right? Feeling is the feeling is the present, recognized by the word as the past. So I'm living all the time in the past. So the past is me. The past is time. So time is me. Look what I'm discovering. Come on. Time is me. So the me says, I must not be angry, because my conditioning has been, don't be angry, don't be greedy. So the past is telling the present what it should do. So there's a contradiction. So I'm finding out why there is contradiction. There is contradiction because fundamentally, very, very deeply, the past is dictating the present, what it should do, which is the me, which is the past, with all its memories, experiences, knowledge, and the thing that has put together by thought, the me, which is the past, which is time. The past is dictating what should happen. Now, can I observe the fact, please listen, the fact of greed without the past? Can there be observation of greed without naming, without getting caught in the word, and understand whether the word has created the feeling? And if the word has created the feeling, then I am then the word is me, which is the past. So the me is telling, don't be greedy. So I'm asking myself whether it's possible to look at what is without the me, which is the observer. Right? Can I observe greed, the feeling, and its fulfillment and action without the observer, which is the past? You get it? And don't say how to do it. You will do it as we learn going along. It's like learning to drive a car. Concept, I will drive a car. You learn day by day, looking. Or in one moment you can learn the whole thing. But that's much more difficult. You haven't gone into that. We're going to go into the question of fear. Which is to observe the fear in yourself. You are the humanity. You are not Mr. So-and-so with a name and a form. You are the essence of all human beings. For God's sake, do realize it. Because you, like anybody else in the world, goes through agony. He knows what sorrow is, what death is, frustration, loneliness, the lack of love, compassion, violence. This happens all throughout the world. So you are the essence of all humanity. That's a fact. So when we are discussing or having a dialogue about fear, we are discussing human fear, not Mr. So-and-so's fear or Miss So-and-so's fear. When you understand the global fear of humanity, then you can see your own little fears. But if you only regard or concern with your own little fears, then you lose the greater fear of altogether. You understand this? So we are having a dialogue about human fear. Can you as a human being observe your fear? Sitting there, you know your fears, can you observe it very carefully? Take time, we've got plenty of time. Observe it. Fear of death, fear of loneliness, fear of tomorrow, fear of losing a job, fear of losing your wife or your girl or your boy, losing your possession, losing the vitality, the energy, fear of not being as intellectual, verbal, or clever or as another. To be aware of it, to observe it. Now, listen to this carefully, if you don't mind. Does the word fear create fear, or fear exist without the word? You've understood my question? Does the word fear awaken fear, or without the word, this thing called fear exists? Please, this is very important for you to find out if you are serious about the freedom from fear. Total freedom from fear, psychologically. Then we can, if one understand the freedom from psychologically of fear, then the biological fears becomes totally different thing. Isn't it? If there is freedom from fear inwardly, then biologically there is the activity of intelligence which says do this and don't do that, which we'll discuss after. First, we must have a dialogue about psychological fear. So we're asking, when you observe your fear, you use the word fear instantly. And the word is not the thing. The word tent is not the actual tent. So the word is not the thing. Right? Oh, come on. So, is the word fear the actuality? Or the actuality exists without the word? It's very important to find out, because we are caught in words. Words and their symbols and their meaning have become tremendously important. So can you separate the word from the fact, the word tent and the actuality? I use the word tent to describe this, to communicate. But the communication, the word, the description is not the thing. Right? So similarly, the word, is it fear, or is the word separate from the feeling? Because it's tremendously important to find out. Because every human being is caught in this fear of tomorrow, of yesterday's misfortunes, of the guilt, what he has done or not done, what he hopes to do, and he may not be able to do. He wants to succeed and fail, and the constant dread of pain, psychological pain, psychological demands and frustrations, all that. Because we live with it, we have lived with it for a million years. Man has not been able to solve it. He postpones it, he avoids it, he runs away from it. So here we're asking, can you separate the word from the feeling? Or the word has created the feeling, and without the word there may be no feeling. And if there is feeling, what is it? You understand? Please do understand this. Suppose I'm afraid of not being able to talk to an audience, to you, because I have cancer or some other. I haven't got it, don't worry. Or doesn't matter if you worry, I haven't got it. Suppose I have cancer and I'm frustrated because I want to express. If I'm silly enough, want to express. I'm frightened. I lose. And I am afraid not only biological pain, but also frustrated, deeply wounded, hurt by not being able to communicate. Because that has been I've been doing this for the last 50 years or more. So I'm frightened. I'm not, but I'm supposing. Now, that fear, I'm asking myself, is the word making the fear, or does this feeling exist by itself? If the feeling exists by itself, what is that feeling? The feeling is no tomorrow. You understand? Pain and all the rest of it. So the feeling is sensation, isn't it? Without the word, the feeling is a sensation. But with the word, it becomes fear. I wonder if you capture it. Do you get it? It must be in your blood. I'll repeat it once more, see it. You see, we associate always the word with the thing. Moment you use the word tent, you have a picture of the tent. Small, big, colored, whatever it is. You have a picture of it. Instantly. To separate the word from the fact. The fact is not the word. Right? That's simple. Fear We all know, every human being right through the world knows this appalling thing called fear. And that has burdened man for 1,000,000 years. And when you are frightened, you shrink, you become blind, you are paralyzed, you have lost everything. You know that feeling, I'm sure of it. So you have to find out for yourself, not repeat what the speaker is saying, that's no value. Find out for yourself whether the feeling is separate from the word being fear, and find out also if the word is creating this feeling. If there is a separation from the word from the feeling, then you have the feeling. But moment you name that feeling, it becomes fear. And when you don't name it, it's a sensation, right? And look at that sensation with the totality of all your senses. You understand what I'm talking about? Have some of you understood what I'm talking? So, part of the brain, part of the mind and brain is sensation, right? But the moment you name a particular sensation by a particular name, you've already created the response according to your conditioning. You understand? My conditioning, suppose a person's conditioning is he's anti-communist. And he's trained, he's educated to be anti. Arab anti-Jew, anti-Hindu, this or that. So, you respond according to that condition. And that part of that conditioning is the association of the word with the thing. Never realizing the word is not the thing. Now, the word fear is not the feeling. So you have only that feeling left. That feeling, that sensation is part of the brain, a part of the mind. To observe that feeling with all your senses. Then you will see, if you do it, not theorize about it, not speculate about it, but actually do it, then you will see that fear, which is the movement of thought, as the word ceases. Have you understood all this? Then, psychologically, when one is free of fear, actually, then what effect has it on the physical instrument? You understand my question? If you are not frightened of any danger psychologically, what effect has that depth of the realization of truth on the physical? if you are free of that fear now, what effect has it on your physical state? You know, the psychological fears dominate the physical. That's obvious. And therefore, the body, the instrument, this organism, loses its own intelligence. If the fears of the psyche are constantly in operation, as with most people, then there's a tremendous strain on the organism. It's frightened, it's nervous, it's always apprehensive, always guarding itself, never open. And so, those psychological fears affect very deeply on the physical organism. And the inner affects the outer, and therefore its own native intelligence of the body is being destroyed. As you destroy the organism through the pleasure of a taste, smoking, drinking, drugs, eating a lot of meat, all the rest of that goes on. Because you are trained, you are educated along these lines. Therefore, that's always destroying the deep organic intelligence. So, when there is no fear inwardly, the organism operates with its own intelligence. Therefore, it is quite a different operation. You understand? Nothing is dictated to it. No, well, you don't know this. So too, you must lay the foundation of all this. Because then only you will understand later on when we discuss about meditation what is implied in it. But if you don't lay the foundation, which is not to be psychologically inwardly psychologically afraid, and if you are afraid and you are still go after meditation, then you're caught up in illusions, in stupidities, in absurd activities. Because the root, the essence of destructive activity goes on, and you pile on it all kinds of idiotic ideas. Meditation is something that you have to, that comes naturally when you have laid down the foundation. Right? So, what we are talking about and having a dialogue is laying the foundation, not only biological foundation, but psychological foundation. When that foundation is deep, strong, healthy, safe, then the meditation then becomes something extraordinary. But if without that, meditation becomes rather childish, meaningless, leading to illusion.